everybody, and welcome back to the HabWrap. I am your host, Harry Rice. You are listening to, I should say, the friendliest and funniest source for anything and everything Montreal Canadiens. Tonight was Game 5 of the first round matchup between the Montreal Canadiens and the Tampa Bay Lightning. And how did it go? Well, it was a game. It was definitely a hockey game. It was a very back and forth game. No surprise given these two teams. And it was a game. Very stressful, of course. I think for both teams, both fan bases. And we're gonna talk about it. Obviously, I got my notes as usual. I got my stats for the end of the game. But before we do any of that, we gotta talk about the lines. And we have to talk about the lines. And we really have to, because there's been some switch-ups for the Montreal Canadiens. The Lightning had one line change, but aside from that, nothing else, but we will talk about that, obviously. The opening lines for the Canadiens were Caulfield, Suzuki, Slavkovsky, Demidov, Evans, Newhook, Bolduc, Dach, Texier, Anderson, Danault, Gallagher. On the blue line, it's Matheson, Carrier, Gooley, Hudson, and Struble, Jackeye. So, yeah, firstly, Brendan Gallagher's back in. Oliver Kapanen is a healthy scratch. A little bit of a surprise, I'm sure, to some fans. However, unfortunately, it does kind of make sense. There was talk that potentially Texier would be out for Joe Veleno. I like Joe Veleno. I would not have minded to see him in the lineup, especially given his defense. But after what happened in the game, I think everybody will be very happy that did not happen. Still no Dobson. However, good update is that he is back on the ice. He does have a modified glove, so it was one very similar to, I forget which injury it was because there's been so many with him. But speaking of Brendan Gallagher, funny enough, when Gallagher came back one time from a hand injury, he had a modified glove with like extra stuffing or whatever it's called, extra padding for a little while after. And that's basically what Dobson had at practice. He did play today at the optional skate, so I think that is good. I do believe he will play for Game 6. I am of that personal belief. It seemed like it was a very close detail. Well, not detail, but it was very close as to if he might play tonight or not. But ultimately, obviously, he does not. Unfortunately, we shall see if he does play in Game 6 and or if there is a Game 7. In net, it's Jakub Dobes. He gets the start for the Canadiens, and Jacob Fowler continues to back him up. The opening lines for the Lightning were Hagel, Point, Kucherov, Gord, Cirelli, Gensel, Goncalves, James, Bjorkstrand, and Gergensen's Geeky Perry. So the Lightning, again, continuing to be cowards and not giving us the Gee line, as I think all of us want. They're gonna do it one of these games. I know they will. But, So, Nick Paul is surprisingly out. That is why Connor Geeky does get back into the lineup. No Scott Sabrin, which I think Lightning fans are probably very happy about that, given he's no longer taking 3 stupid penalties a game. So they're probably happy about that. On the blue line, it's Moser, Radish, McDonough, Chernak, and Lilleberg, Crozier. Andre Vasilevsky obviously starts for the Lightning, and Jonas Johansson continues to warm the bench. Before the game, the only note I had was Dobson. And Nick Paul, sorry, I didn't give the reason. The reason he's not playing is he apparently came down with an illness. So hopefully it's not a super rough illness. Hopefully it's just one of those things where it's like, Jesus, I feel like shit. There's no way I'm going to be able to play at full effectiveness. Hopefully it's just one of those things, and for the Lightning, he's back next game. But obviously, as a Canadiens fan who wants them to advance, the easier the matchup, the better it is for the Canadiens. So let's get right into it. So the first period, you could tell they were back in Tampa, by the way. The crowd was non-existent. Not that there weren't people there. No, obviously there were obviously people in the building. But you could tell that it was nothing to the levels of the crowd in Montreal, where that crowd, you could tell, loves hockey. With Tampa, it's like, yeah, let's ice hockey. This is cool. We're at an ice hockey game. All right, Kucherov gets taken down by Gooley on a puck battle. The top line was out with Andy Slav. This is actually some of the lineup, the matchups that were different. So Slav started the game with Evans and Demidov. That would kind of be the constant. You did not see Caulfield, Suzuki, and Slafkovsky for a large portion of the game. I think there were only a handful of shifts where it was that original top line. For the most part, it was Slav with Evans and Demidov, and then Caulfield and Suzuki with Josh Anderson, which meant that Newhook mostly was on the third and fourth line. There was a lot of line matching by both teams, as there has been the whole series, but there was also a lot of line shifting for the Canadiens, especially. Well, up front, I should say. On the blue line, those stayed the same. Those lines were very, very good for the most of the game. But yeah, the forward lines got a little bit shuffled. And we score at 3 minutes. Alex Newhook takes one to the net. He gets a nice shot off, but it's stopped by Vasi. He gives the rebound up. Newhook gets it. And who else? The storybook. Brendan Gallagher, in his first game of the playoffs, his first shift and his first shot. 3 minutes in, Brendan Gallagher gives the Canadiens the lead. His first goal. He is point per game in the playoffs this year now. More than Oliver Kapanen, that's all I'm going to say. Gallagher scores from Newhook again, exactly 3 minutes in. The top line comes out, so obviously Cirelli's line counters. Suzuki has a shot, but it's not on net. He tries to find Hudson, who goes to Gooley, but the shot gets held. McDonough threatens Suzuki, who just didn't give a shit. The Lightning end up getting their first shot. That's off the pad of Dobes and saved. After a shot gets held by Dobes, Gallagher's in a bit of a small scrum. I thought the game wouldn't be all that physical and dirty. Both teams know how important it is, and yeah, I was right. It would not get overly physical. There was obviously still body checks. There were some decent hits, but it wouldn't, devolve into 6 scrums in a period, guys fisting each other while they're down. I could have phrased that better. I'm not going to bother. You get what I mean. The Habs push with the top line out. There's a puck that just hops over Anderson's stick. Habs do push after a stick breaks good stick breaks up a Gensel rush chance. And the Habs go to a power play at 7.5 minutes in. Ryan McDonough gets called for a double minor for high-sticking Suzuki. So the Canadiens get a 4-minute power play right out the gate. This is going to be good. Habs do push. Dach is out, though, but he quickly goes off for Suzuki. Why didn't Suzuki start the power play? Because he was bloodied up. So, yeah, you can't start the power play if you're a little bloodied up, but you can start the power play if you've been seriously injured and are down on the ice for 2 minutes. So, great work, NHL. Suzuki and Caulfield play pass with each other. They try to find an open lane. Eventually, Slafkovsky in the shot on a rebound ends up poking at Vasilevsky. The second unit comes out. Matheson holds a puck in at the line. That ends the first 2 minutes. Dobes comes out to deke by a Lightning who tries to break in shorthanded. That was fun. The Lightning clear twice. Habs aren't able to enter the zone. They have to rely on the dump and chase. Habs 0 for 2 on the power play, unfortunately. Hagel with a hard high hit on Carrier. That doesn't get called. Bjorkstrand gets a sudden break. Shot hits the crossbar, then the post, and somehow stays out. No clue how. And then, just like that, moments later, the Habs go to a penalty kill. It's a delay of game for puck over glass. That gets called on Jake Evans. That sucks. The Lightning cycle. Radish has a one-timer, but that gets saved. Suzuki ends up going short-handed. A moment later, he dekes out Kucherov, but the backhand shot gets saved. Point in the slot has a 5-hole save by Dobes. Newhook has speed. He almost gets it going, but the Lightning come back the other way. Hudson with a great stick to break up that look. The Habs are 1 for 1 on the penalty kill. Perry ends up deking around Struble, but the shot is saved and held by Dobes. Kucherov off a turnover, but that is sticked away. The Lightning fully had momentum nearing the end of the first period. Radish interferes with Suzuki along the boards at neutral. There's no call, of course. And then we go 4-on-4 with about 2:10 left in the first period. Gooley and Goud. Who the hell is Goud? Gouli and Gord both get called too for holding. I think that's a completely fair call, actually. Slavkovsky has a rush save. Vasi on the backhand there. He saw that all the way. The Lightning press. There's a save by Dobes with the glove, and he holds. Matheson and Crozier would exchange words, and nothing in the final minute. Shots are 7-6 for the Lightning, and the Canadiens have the 1-0 lead after the first period. That is quite solid, if you ask me. In the second period, Hudson gets called for a delay of game for puck over glass again. That really sucks. However, that one is really tough to blame on him because he broke his stick, holds it by where it's broken to make sure that it's not fully breaking apart. Very sneaky there. And when he lifts the puck, the stick gets too much of it. That just really sucks. The Habs aren't able to clear it first. They do end up getting one through. Lightning cycle, but nothing. Habs are 2 for 2 on the penalty kill. Hudson out of the box. Nice job shoving Cirelli. He centers to Newhook. He gets a shot saved, and the rebound also saved. Vasi, very solid there. And here we go. Dobes with a great pair of saves. Jack-Eye also takes down Crozier at the same time, but very undisciplined by Jack-Eye. That gets called 2 for roughing, unfortunately. Evans pokes at a puck on a break. Vasi with a pad save there. Lightning cycle the other way. Dobes has a blocker save and then holds on a Kucherov shot. Habs get a clear. Anderson almost found on a break, but just can't get there, unfortunately. The Lightning press again. There's a lot of pressure coming for the Lightning now. There's a shot by Kucherov, but the side of the net, but that ends up out of play. Habs are 3 for 3 on the penalty kill tonight. Very good. Hudson has a good hit on Point. Point gives him a high stick after the hit, then slashes him, and of course there's no call because why would there be? And then the Lightning score because why wouldn't they? There's no penalty on the Canadiens, so obviously that means that the Lightning have control. Dominic James scores at 6:49. He gets his first, I believe, career playoff goal. Definitely first of the year. But first potential career playoff goal. He scores from Goncalves and Yanni Gourde at 6:49. So, very unfortunately. However, Canadiens don't gotta fret for long. Why? Because just 11 seconds later, Kirby freaking Dach. That is right. Kirby Dach off the wall. What a fucking power move. Kirby Dach fakes like he's gonna deke and then cuts back, cuts to the front of the net. Cuts to the front of the net, gets the shot, the rebound on his foot, kicks it to himself, and buries it behind Vasilevsky. Kirby Dach with his second goal of the playoffs. Apparently the goal is just at least one game every round. Unanimously have Habs fans say Kirby Dach sucks, because after that, Dach plays pretty damn good games after that. So that might be the plan. Maybe not the death threats and all, but just one game where Habs fans say Dach is garbage, because then he turns it up. My God, Dach has been fantastic recently. So, yeah, Dach makes it 2-1 for the... I'm only semi-joking about that, by the way. For real, Dach gets his second of the playoffs. He scores from Bolduc and Caden Gouli there, and the Canadiens take back the lead. Habs push for the 3-1 lead right afterwards. They have stolen back momentum, it looks like. The Lightning end up getting that goal from James as a result of their continued momentum. Dach just took it back just like that. Gouli and the Lightning go at it before a break. There's a Hagel shot held by Dobes. Habs push the other way, but there's a shot off a stick and out. But that ends up stopping play. Anderson has a near break. Vasi ends up covering. Andy gives him a snow shower. We get a little bit of a scrum. Very surprised the refs don't call Andy there, but the Habs do get very lucky as a result. Chernak ends up trying to break Suzuki's neck during the scrum, shoving his head back. Just absolutely classless by Chernak. Dach's line is held out. Kucherov gets on a rush. Dach with a nice good body play to hold him to the outside. Very, very solid there. Kucherov ends up slashing Bolduc back in the Canadiens end. No call, or in the Lightning end. No call, because why would there be? Kucherov never does anything wrong. Slavkovsky is a good hit on Crozier after an icing. Habs push. Galley in front after some pressing. But Vasi ends up holding on that. Gallagher gets fed by Deneau, I should say there. Brendan Gallagher had a very solid game, I thought. Brendan Gallagher deserves to be in the lineup for Game 6, and as Habs fans, we can hope he brings the same intensity that he brought tonight. Geeky ends up slashing Jacka on a Lightning press. There's no call again. Lightning do ice a puck after a battle at neutral. The game is starting to get chippy. It wouldn't get into that second level, though. It was really just like, ooh, little wacky. Ooh, little wacky. Just there wasn't a whole lot of, I'm going to kill you and you are going to like it. There was not a lot of overly chippiness. It was just, typical playoff stuff, really. And the Lightning eventually end up tying it up after some good Habs pressure. So, I had a rant in the regular season about a player by the name of Mike Matheson. And it is time we have that talk again, because Mike Matheson... I'm going to describe what happens here, because I think that makes the most sense for you guys to understand why Mike Matheson is so trash. So the Habs are pressuring. Typical, cycling it around, try to get a shot going. Matheson passes on a chance, which is fair. Looks for a shot, can't get it. Gets it back to Matheson. Matheson goes up in the rush, and not necessarily the rush, but gets up right about the bottom of the right circle, takes a shot, goes wide, and instead of then proceeding to hustle his ass back to play his position, which is defenseman, Mike Matheson skates around the circle, which leaves poor Caden Gooley to defend a 2-on-1. Jake Gensel is the man with the puck on the 2-on-1. He shoots it and he scores. So because Mike Matheson firstly chooses a god-awful shooting attempt, firstly because of that, the game is tied. And secondly, because Mike Matheson, again, refuses to play defense. The game is tied just like that. I don't care about what Mike Matheson did late in the game, in the final 3 minutes. The game should be 2-1 Montreal at this point in the game. Matheson should be back defending a 2-on-2. Poor Caden Gooley shouldn't be left to have his stick out to the right side in case there's a pass and try to defend Jake Gensel. Mike Matheson should have been there with him. Rather, he's defending Gensel. More than likely, Gooley's still defending Gensel, and I think it was Point with Gensel, if I remember correctly. And Matheson's defending Point. You don't take the fucking shot attempt, obviously, with a man right in front. There's the meme about Mike Matheson refusing to pass the puck and just shooting into a guy's ankles when the Habs are down like 10-0. There's the meme picture about that. This felt like that fucking meme, which is ironic because he actually did pass moments before, got it back, shoots it into the fucking guys. So the game is tied. Demidov has a shot held by Vasilevsky. The Habs didn't look too bothered by the tying goal, thankfully. Matheson dumps a puck in. Vasi behind his net gets stripped by Vasilevsky. However, unfortunately, Danault isn't able to capitalize with a bouncing puck right in front. Habs almost took back the lead. That would have been awesome. So, shots are 23-17 for the Lightning, and it's a 2-2 tie game after the second period. My God. In the third period, the Lightning press. There's a radish shot off the post. The rebound. Kucherov somehow doesn't get all of it. Holy shit. And then the Canadiens score. Yeah, that's the funny thing. The Lightning get a chance that doesn't go, and then the Canadiens capitalize. Yeah, that can happen. Yeah, believe it or not. After a line change, Texier ends up on a nice rush. He just gets basically to the bottom of the left circle, shoots it. It goes off Vasilevsky's arm and just trickles in. The Habs get incredibly lucky. Alexander Texier with his second of the playoffs. He scores from Lane Hudson and big Nick Suzuki. Habs take back the lead. It's 3-2 just like that. A minute 6 seconds in, Habs regain the lead. This one, Habs need to stick. We'll find out if it does. The Habs do try to press. The Lightning get a look, but Gergensen's in front gets saved. The Lightning press for the 2-goal lead. Texier, very noticeable on this next shift. Very noticeable on this next shift. Going hard at work, right in the corner, trying to dig out a puck, engage in a puck battle. He is very, very noticeable. Texier, I think, has done enough to warrant his spot being safe from a potential scratching in the playoffs, at least for a little while, obviously. Preferably want to go on a game-by-game basis, but, 3 pretty good games in a row. Yeah. Matheson gets deked out by Cirelli, of course, but the pass just too far on the 2-on-1. Lightning press. Both teams are sturdy defensively. The Lightning ice a puck at 8 minutes. Struble has a shot deflected. Gallagher on the rebound. Just can't put it home. Damn it, that would have been awesome. There's a hard board battle behind Dobes. Habs do come away with it. Evans gets a near break, but the slap shot. Yeah, Jake Evans with a slap shot. That gets saved. Gallagher rebound. It looks like it goes off the bar, but it might have gone wide. But either way, Gallagher can't finish it off. Gallagher had some chances here in the third. He looked pretty all right, in my opinion. Habs with some good... if I remember correctly, hearing what I might have heard, Gallagher, I think, had 2 minutes of ice time in the first period. Crazy. I don't know what he finished with. I'm going to look real quick. But last time I checked, yeah, he had 6:48 of ice time. Gallagher easily, by far, had the least amount of ice time on this team. Oh, no, never mind. Arbor Jackeye had 2 minutes. No. Arbor played just less than 10 minutes at 9:54. But, yeah, surprisingly, Gallagher got less than Arbor Jackeye. But regardless, Brendan Gallagher, very good in his limited ice time. And you know what? I'm completely fine if we're only playing him 7-8 minutes a night. If we're getting big bursts of energy, Gallagher, for all of those shifts, rather than 1 or 2 of those, and most of the time it's just skate, I will gladly take that. I will gladly take 5 shifts of heavy burst Gallagher over 1 shift with him playing 15 minutes. I will gladly take that. Habs with some good D, stopping most of Tampa's chances. Off a board battle, Tampa press. Kucherov gets poked off a puck, but the Lightning come back in. There's a puck that bounces around. Dobes dives to cover and hold with 6:02 left. Yeah, safe to say, the Canadiens were giving me a bit of a heart attack right here because I was not taking notes for a good couple minutes because I was just focused on just, God, please don't choke this, please don't choke this, please don't choke this. The Habs ice a puck with 4:12 left. The game was very stressful at this stage. The Habs do win a draw. Evans kills off time trying to find a man back in the Tampa zone. 3 minutes left. Tampa's going to start getting desperate. Dobes ends up holding a puck after 2 good shots get saved. And as a result, what happens? With 2:33 left, which is the time this puck gets held, Vasi goes to the bench. The shot is blocked by Carrier. Gensel is a shot gloved and held. And, okay, never mind. I thought that this was where it happens. Not yet. Matheson ices a puck with 1:57 left. Matheson purely playing for points, not playing smart. Lightning pressure. There's a couple shots going wide. One finally ends up out of play. Holy shit. Cooper calls... oh, wait, no. No, I was trying to figure out when Vasi went to the bench without realizing I already called it. Goddamn, dyslexia is fun. Alright, Cooper calls his timeout with 1:28 left. Habs just need an empty net goal of some kind to get this game securely won. Slav shot doesn't go for an icing. Slav panics. He sends one down the ice on a second chance. That's a shame. Immediately feels like looks up to the scoreboard. He knows. He knows that was a mistake. And yeah, that just sucks. Back in the Canadian zone, Radish has a slapper that gets blocked. Kucherov with a one-timer saved. There's a point shot saved. 10 seconds later, over 10 seconds left, point fans on a shot. It gets to the corner. There's a bit of a puck battle. No Lightning comes away with it. The Habs are going to win, by goodness, and the Lightning get dirty right at the buzzer. We got a bit of a scrum. The Habs don't engage all that much. They know they've won, and indeed they do. The Canadiens take the game 3-2 in regulation. The final shots, 40-24 for the Lightning. That is right. The shots in the third were 17-6 for the Lightning, and I am convinced 12 of those shots came in the last 3 minutes. Last 5 minutes, we'll say. The Lightning were outplayed for a large portion of this game by the Canadiens. This was a Canadiens win, literally. But the Canadiens played a fantastic game, and they win. As a result, the Canadiens, that's right, not only do they take the game 3-2, they have the series lead at 3-2, going back to Montreal on Friday. This series could wrap up on Friday night in Montreal, and would it be a hell of a way to do it? No better way to do it. Come on. Yeah, that does it. The Canadiens with a huge win. Jakub Dobes, I didn't mention him making many great saves, but he was stable as all hell. Jakub Dobes kept the Canadiens in this, especially in the final 5 minutes. This game easily could have been a collapse to the Canadiens. Or hell, we could be in overtime right now, for example. Jakub Dobes made sure that did not happen. Made sure the Canadiens won this one in regulation. Huge shout out to him. Speaking of Dobes, let's get into the stats. He's the last one we talk about in the stats. Let's do them. Why not? Lane Hutson leads the Canadiens with 2 goals and 3 assists for 5 points. Nick Suzuki has 5 assists. Alexander Texier, 2 goals and 2 assists for 4 points. Cole Caulfield and Zach Bolduc both have a goal and 3 assists for 4 points. Yaroslavsky's got 3 goals. Kirby Dach with 2 goals and an assist for 3 points. Josh Anderson, 2 goals. Caden Gooley, the opposite, he's got 2 assists. Brendan Gallagher with a goal, and Alex Carrier, Mike Matheson, Ivan Demidov, Phil Deneau, Jake Evans, Arbor Jacki, and Alex Newhook all have the opposite at 1 assist. Yeah, Yaroslavsky also leads the Canadiens with a fight. Jakub Dobes, he leads the Canadiens goaltenders. He's the only Canadiens goaltender to see ice time in the playoffs thus far. He has a 3-1-1 record, a 2.49 goals against average, and a .903 save percentage. That does not at all do justice. Firstly, how good he's been in the series, but also how good he was especially tonight. I will still hold by this. I think the Canadiens should have swept the Lightning. This should have been a 5-game series at most. Jakub Dobes should have probably a 920 right now. He plays like a 920 goaltender. Fantastic game for him. Fantastic game for the boys overall. Just great to see it. So, yeah, that will do it for this game. As I'm recording this, Philly and Pittsburgh is going on. I do think it'd be very fun if by the time this is finished uploading, Pittsburgh and Philly is also still going on. But that would require, a third overtime? And, I mean, given the way both teams are playing, probably won't get there, but crazier things have happened. So, yeah, again, that is going to do it for this episode of HabWrap. Thank you all so much for watching. My name is Harry Rice. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Hit the follow button if you're on Spotify, Amazon, wherever you might be listening to the podcast on. And also, please don't forget to share with anybody who you think might enjoy the pod, such as a fellow Montreal Canadiens fan, a hockey fan who's maybe looking for a Canadiens podcast, or somebody who you think might enjoy listening to some fat kid from Quebec talk about the Montreal Canadiens for half an hour after every game. So yeah, again, that is going to do it for this episode of HabWrap. Thank you all so much for watching. My name is Harry Rice, and always remember, no matter how good we are like last year, how pretty good we are like this year, or how great we're going to be in the future, go Habs go, Allez Montreal, and say with me everybody, C'est la boue!